Morning, everybody. Natalie coming to you live, Spirit and Coffee. Got my coffee here. Yum, yum, yum. Coffee, coffee, coffee. We love coffee. Okay. Yes, you guys know I love coffee. Okay, so I need to fix this camera here. Okay, here we go. I want to see, maybe I could do a Podbean live with like my face and everything. I don't know if that's possible. Maybe it is. I'll figure that out eventually. But Spirit and Coffee is on super early today. Good morning, Peter. And I perhaps at one point in my life, which was maybe a year ago or so, I was actually doing Spirit and Coffee super early in the morning. Good morning, Kim. Um, good morning, Tina. Good morning, Christian. Let's see who all the morning people are. Good morning, Doreen. And I was doing it super early in the morning. And the reason why is because I was working. Well, I'm going to start working again, which is really exciting for me. So, good morning, Mikey. How are you? Glad you're on here. Um, good morning, those on Podbean as well. Please say good morning if you're there and tuning in. I like to say good morning. Good morning, Jen. So I probably will maybe stay to a consistent time in the morning as I'm doing my work. Now, I'm not 100% ready to say what the good news is and where I'm going to be working, but I will say this. It is aligned with my birthright and what I love to do. Okay. What do I love to do? Well, I can give you a clue. It's the simple things that I do in life all the time, right? The simple things, it's um, eat healthy, work out, do Spirit and Coffee, right? And read. Like that's really what my life is. It's a very simple life that I live. And then sometimes we go out, right, Mikey, and we go have a good time and dance all night. Um, but I'm going to be sort of telling you guys the good news coming up soon about where I will be working. And I'm going to enroll all of you guys to come and see me where I'm going to be working. So it's going to be fun. And I'm super excited. I'm also very excited about doing Spirit Coffee in the morning. I sort of like doing it really early, but if I don't have like a job where I have to report early, I typically tend to sleep in a little bit more or just kind of relax in the mornings. But I do enjoy getting up and getting ready, okay? And then I'm taking on new fitness goals. So that's pretty exciting, which I'm excited about, okay? You guys are going to see things are going to change in my life. I've been telling you this, but you know, with me, it takes some time. Okay, let's get started. We are reading The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and really love this book. It's very, I would say it's entry level stuff if you're trying to understand how to sort of take your life on in a meaningful way to actually create the life that you want and to live a prosperous, happy, great life, right? It's better early to lift the spirits. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so here we go. So we were talking about how many times that you pay for your mistakes, right? If you make a mistake. So how many times do we pay for the one mistake? The answer is thousands of times. The human is only animal on earth that pays 1,000 times for the same mistake. The rest of the animals pay once for every mistake they make, but not us. We have a powerful memory. We make a mistake, we judge ourselves, we find ourselves guilty, and we punish ourselves. If justice exists, then that's enough. We don't need to do it again. But every time we remember, we judge ourselves again and we are guilty again and we punish ourselves again and again and again. If we have a wife or a husband, he or she also reminds us of the mistake so we can judge ourselves again, punish ourselves again, and find ourselves guilty again. Is this fair? Now, here's the deal that I want to say that they're leaving out is that it's okay to, okay, say I did this wrong and then move on. But we continually say I did this wrong, I did this wrong. But here's the deal, taking personal responsibility and shifting it. If you're going to continue to repeat it, well, okay, then that doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense that you would be like, oh, I forgive myself and I'm just going to do it again and again and then again and again. So also too, it's the reality of being aware enough that when we do something, right, that we judge ourselves for that maybe wasn't correct. Like maybe we yelled at someone we loved, and we got frustrated. But the reality is, are you recognizing that, and are you correcting it for yourself, for the betterment of yourself? And say, I forgive myself for doing this, but yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm not gonna behave this way. I'm gonna figure out what it is inside me that gets to what shift and change. Take personal responsibility for that. Okay, how many times do we make our spouse, our children, our parents pay for the same mistake? Now, this is a big one because what we tend to do is put people in a box. I've talked about this several times on Spirit and Coffee as well. Now, the box is almost nearly impossible to get out of once you're put in it. When people put you in a box, if you're this or you're that, it's nearly impossible to get out of the box. So we're like, how do we get out of this box, right? That you keep putting us in. Good morning, Heather. How do I get out of the box that people want to confine me in, where it's almost like a personal prison that people put you in, right? Where you're this way, you're that way, you could be no other way. And you're like, but that isn't me. And that's not how I am. So stop saying it, right? And it gets frustrating. But then in the end, we end up playing out that particular role that they put us in. Why? Because they keep telling us we're that. And at the end of the day, we can be no other way. We can be no other way. So again, it's looking at it and saying, how do we get out of this box? Well, sometimes people will keep you in a box and they're not going to take you outside the box. But for you, if you're working on yourself and you're in a relationship, husband, or even with parents, even with children, and you're putting them in a box, or a friend, maybe a lifelong friend, it doesn't matter. Any relationship where you put someone in a box and you think, this is the way they are. Now they're trying to change, but you keep putting them and seeing them from one perspective. They could never change. They can't, because you've put them in this box. Good morning, Robert. You've you've sort of put them in this like prison, and you say, well, too bad, you're just that person. And people will shift and change. Now, there's some fundamental things in their life that they may do that may never change, right? And that's not our job, is to make them change, right? It's only for us to change ourselves and our perception. Now, here's the deal. As we change our perception and change ourselves, people change. But we don't go into it saying they've got to be this way or that way. You're only causing yourself harm. So what we'll do is we'll punish people in hopes that if we keep punishing them, they'll shift and change their behavior. And the same goes for us. People do that to us all the time. Well, I'll teach them, right? I'm going to show them. I'm going to keep throwing it in their face at this. Maybe they'll recognize it. Maybe they'll understand. That's not how it works. People have to want to change for themselves. And by us simply telling them doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Okay, so people have to want to change. So for you, and the way that this is good for yourself, good morning, Michael, is that you say, oh, yeah, well, I don't want to be seen this way. Good morning, Jonathan. By the way, I heard you're doing really fabulous with your workouts, which I'm very proud of you for. Congratulations. Keep it up. Health is wealth. Good morning, Kendrick. If you didn't know, health is wealth, I'm telling you guys, health is wealth, okay? I could go on a rant on that as well, about how important health is for our wealth. Okay, so putting people in a box, putting yourself in a box. Now, sometimes we have to move away, right? And Jonathan has moved away from the people that we love because we can't get out of this box that they've put us in. And what it does is it traps us in these old ways of thinking. And we keep punishing ourselves for the same stuff over and over. We keep reliving the same shit over and over instead of saying, okay, I'm going to change this about my life. And so to step out and to experience something, leave. I'm not saying leave to run away. I'm saying leave to discover, but come back. You can always come back. I left. I took off. I said, goodbye. I got to go. I can't handle this. You guys think I'm this way and I'm not. And by simply placing that upon me feels like suffocation. Telling me that I'm this way when I know internally that's not my intention, and you keep saying that it is, you're not going to see me any other way. You're not going to allow me. You're not even going to hear what I have to say because in your mind, I'm already this way and that's that. So for you, you can step away and leave. And I did. I left for a year. Um, and I've left for more. I've left twice for a year. And I'm like, I got to get away. I got to get away. I got to get away for people that don't know me. Now, here's the deal. When you step away and you create the same pattern somewhere else, then you got to start looking at yourself and saying, oh, okay, where are the pieces of me that I take no matter where I go? And I keep seeing the same pattern over and over again. And this is where our seated patterns become, because they talk about the judgment and they talk about how we punish ourselves. But the reality is our subconscious mind is starting to control the way that we engage the world. And so we reseed patterns everywhere we go. So everywhere you go, there you are. Doesn't mean it's going to shift the pattern, but the awareness of it is important. Now, we don't need punish ourselves for it. We need recognize it, okay? You don't have to. It's up to you. You can or cannot. But if you recognize it and you say, okay, got it. Yes, that makes total sense. I'm an asshole. I get it finally. Now, what am I going to do to support or work on that? Now, is it serving me? Like, do I want to be an a-hole? No. Okay. I want to be kind and gentle. So how do I create kindness and gentleness and compassion in the world? People aren't seeing that of me. So how do I create that? Not by punish, but by merely recognizing and bringing awareness to maybe the practice, the way you engage life that's showing up as an asshole. Okay. So how do I shift that? How do I become someone who's compassionate, kind, and gentle? What does that look like? What does it mean to be compassionate and kind? How do I understand that? If it's not showing up to others, then obviously that's feedback. But it doesn't mean that we punish ourselves for it over and over. We work towards being compassionate and kind, right? And not an a-hole. Okay, that's just an example. I'm not saying I'm an a-hole. I probably can be sometimes, but that's my ego. I'll blame it on the ego. It's not me. I'm really love. And we all got an ego, don't we? Yes, we do. If you say you don't, that's ego. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's see. Every time we remember the mistake, we blame them again and send them all the emotional poisons we feel at the injustice. And then we make them pay again for the same mistake. Is that justice? And in the background, you will hear my mother. She's beating the eggs because she's making herself breakfast. She's got to eat. Okay, is that justice? The judge in the mind is wrong because the belief system, the book of law, is wrong. The whole dream is based on false law. 95% of the beliefs we have are stored in the minds are nothing but lies. And we suffer because we believe all of these lies. Now, here is a critical distinction that I'd like to give you. Now, I had a master trainer who told me, your power lies in distinguishing distinctions. I love that saying. Your power lies in distinguishing distinctions. We have this something called a collapse distinction. Now, what the hell does that mean? Most people are like, what? What does that even mean? Collapse distinction, or living as though something is true and not getting clarity in the difference between what is actual true and what is not true. Okay. Now, 99% of our life is lived on false truths. And you'll be like, well, how is that true? That's kind of a conundrum. Okay, catch 22. But listen, here's what it is. There are facts and then there are stories. But we live as though our stories are true. Okay? We live as though our stories are true. Now, I've talked about this before, and anybody who's done any kind of esoteric trainings, have done any type of leadership trainings, they've probably heard or done some type of study into what does this mean. In Hinduism, they understand that the Brahman falls asleep. They say Brahma falls asleep, wakes up, recognizes himself as consciousness, and then falls back asleep again. Okay, so if we are in the dream state, right, we can say that the dream is false. So then what is the truth? Okay, So we can look at the world around us, and even our facts could be false, but they could be neutral events. And so, how and the meaning that we put to those events is the story. What do I mean by that? If we saw life, right, as a neutral event and we had no kind of any judgment towards it, things were just happening as they happen. And I'm talking everything, things that we would say, well, that's bad, that's wrong, that's gross, that's disgusting. And yes, we have our judgments upon it, but if we saw it as a neutral event and stepped outside ourselves to see it objectively, we would say, what are the facts? And if we brought the facts together, we would actually not have a big long story. In other words, I wouldn't have Spirit and Coffee talking forever because the facts would be very boring and dull. Okay. Good morning, Jose Luis. And there's my mom in the background. Say hi, mom. Nope. Yeah. Oh, you see. Oh, look, there she is. So, okay. Again, so bringing into the story. Now, the facts, they actually shorten the story and then they become very boring. Nobody wants to hear just facts. We all want to hear the juicy stories, right? Everybody pays. Like, I love the saying, quit making people who are idiots famous, right? Well, the reality is the bigger the story, the more drama, the more engaged the audience, right? That's why people put on plays back in the day, right? They were like, put on these plays because we want to see the drama. We want to see the stuff that's like juicy, right? Because to them it's juicy. Let me watch drama TV. Let me watch someone's life drama. Let me talk about drama. Let's sit around the table, drink tea, and talk about people. Drama. Okay. Now, right, wrong, good, or bad? No. What are the facts? Facts are things that can be proven true or false. How do we say that? Well, let's say, for instance, you and your spouse get into a fight, okay, and you're arguing. Now, what is the truth? Well, the truth is he's a jerk, or the truth is she's a jerk, okay? That's not true. That's an opinion. That's a story. What is the truth? Well, he continually leaves his socks on the floor. That's a fact. Now, it's boring without the story, right? He leaves his socks on the floor. But it agitates the woman because she's like, I have to pick up the socks. It's so inconsiderate. You're this, this, this. And it becomes a big story. Without the story, without the agitation, it just becomes an event where the event and the fact is the socks are on the floor. Is that true or false? Yeah, it's true. Now, the meaning that we put behind it becomes what? Becomes the story. And we can put all kinds of stuff. He's done it every day. He leaves this, he leaves that. And those are the common things we hear about, men, right? Because, and then we come up with stereotypes around this, okay? Judgment, not real, not true. Now, it feels real to us as the participant receiving this information, right? So we receive the information of the socks on the floor. And we receive the information that it irritates us because we want it to be in its proper place, which is the hamper. And we receive this information and we're the ones doing the work. And we're like, why can't you just do the work? Why can't you see life from my perspective? Why can't you just do what I want you to do? On the opposite spectrum, we have the male perspective, okay? And I'm really putting this in like general terms, right? Like men, women, okay? Don't take this like this is really how it is. This is just an example so you guys can get the concept. Now, the man hears pick up your socks, but he's like, I'm tired. How inconsiderate. Doesn't she know that I work all day? Doesn't she know that I'm da-da-da, whatever else, right? And so the socks on the floor, like all I hear is her complaining. Now, is the complaining true or false? No. Okay. So they'll say, well, yeah, it is true. She is complaining. Oh, that isn't true. That's not fact. Complaining is a judgment. Saying people are complaining is a judgment. Saying the sun is warm and hot is a judgment from our own personal perception. Now, here's how I'm going to explain this because I want you guys to really get this concept, okay? The complaining is the judgment. What is the fact then? So we're like, well, how do we dig through the pile of story to get to the fact? Well, let's just tell you, the fact is boring. And again, we're going to be bored because we want the drama. We want the story, right? And here is the fact. She said, pick up your socks. That's it. That's the fact. Now, the tonality and how it was said and maybe where it came from on her end could have come from a place of frustration and irritation. If she were to say, I'm irritated, this is my truth, you irritate me. Okay. Good morning, Jeff. But the fact is, she only spoke words. Now, the receiver who received those words put a judgment of complaining on it. That's the judgment. If we lived in a space of neutrality based in facts, life would seem dull and boring. So, what do? We make up stories, we make up judgments, and we cause drama. And in those dramas, we make people wrong and we do the mitote, we talk, we say this, we get together, we have tea, we talk about this person, that person. Now, is that right, wrong, good, or bad? No, unless it's doing harm to others and yourself. Then you've got to ask yourself, is this serving me? Now, it's okay to vent out, right? It's okay to say, look, this frustrates me. That is your personal truth. It's not the truth with a capital T, but it becomes a small t in your truth, which is your authentic truth, what it feels true to you. So the biggest question that would trigger me, right, when I was getting coached and when I was going through some transformational trainings was, is that true? And I'd be like, I know it's not true, but it feels true to me. So stop asking me if it's true. I know it's not true. But it triggered me because at the end of the day, I have my personal truth. And this becomes the law that you live by. And not wavering in that truth. Now, the truth that you create for yourself, remember, small t, not everybody's going to live by the same principles as you. And not everybody's going to see life from your perspective. Nobody ever will. Nobody is ever going to be in your body unless there was like, I don't know, some magic that happened where they swapped bodies and then you like had, you're walking in someone else's shoes. Like they have, I don't know, they've done movies like this before, right? Where people swap bodies and they're like, what? I'm in this body, what? And then they get to see. That doesn't happen, okay? It might, but I've never heard of it, okay? We have mediums who say that like ghosts come into them and I don't know what all. But I'm just going to say this is not normal, okay? You're not normally going to hear people say, hey, guess what? I all of a sudden met my mom today. Like her soul is in me and my soul is in her and I'm experiencing her body. It's not going to happen, right? It's not common. So what do we say? We say, let's be practical. And that's why these are the practical uses of esoteric work, because the reality is we have our own personal truth internally, and how we utilize that impersonal truth is going to set the stage for how our life looks. It will set the stage for how we engage in people, with people. That authentic truth is the small t. It's not the truth. You do not have the ultimate truth. No one can have the ultimate truth. Scientists are still trying to find the ultimate truth and they can't. Nobody has ever found the ultimate truth, okay? For me, ultimate truth is God. Do I know everything about God? No, I know God lives within me, but like I didn't create the cosmos, okay? I didn't create the stars. That wasn't me. I participate in it. I can see them. Do I know everything they're made of? No. We don't even understand what's in our oceans. Like, come on. Let's really think deep about this stuff, you guys. Your truth is not the only truth. You cannot say, I have the ultimate truth. In saying that, you're actually, think about it. I have the ultimate truth. Really, tell me what that is. And guess what I think would happen? You would remain silent and say nothing. Because everything's a story. It's a big drama being played out. Now, does it feel real? Yeah. Is there certain principles you live by? Sure. Are there things that I don't agree with? Absolutely. Do I know that some of it's ego? Yes. But the awareness of the ego is what's critical. The awareness, the understanding, like, is this ego or is this God? Because God in motion to me is love no matter what, even in the face of the worst conditions. that God would come and dissipate, and that we can then pray for those people that we think that perhaps don't believe that there's a God and don't participate in that understanding. Because I feel that people that do not participate in the understanding of God or in the faith of God, that they do harm to others in some way. And for me, and this is just personally, for me, I don't want to do harm to others. And I believe that that's walking with God. To give back to humanity in a way that's kind and compassionate. Good morning, Liz. How do we do this? How do we give back in a way that's kind and compassionate? Some people don't want to. And we're going to make them wrong for it. But then by merely judging them, we become them. The only thing that will dissolve it is love. You guys have seen, and for those on Podbean, about a year ago on my live feed, just so you know, I've been doing this for a long time on Facebook Live. I was talking about love and the platform of love. And that's really what this is about. Not to make anybody right, wrong, good, or bad, because we recognize on this platform that all that exists is love. And people will say, well, do you live into that? Well, yeah, I do. And I had trolls show up, okay, on Facebook. And some of the people who have been following me for quite some time, good morning, Kelly, actually saw it happen real time while I was talking about the darkness. And the darkness became illuminated. Why? Because I think at the time we were all together, the people that were viewing and everybody all at the same time. I think we were illuminating the darkness, and we were talking about the darkness, and we were talking about the dark forces, and we were talking about the dark matter and putting light where there may not be light. And as we were putting light into that, the trolls started to show up and say very derogatory, I think that's the right word, things. They were saying very foul things to me. And people on my Facebook Live wanted to attack them. And I said, no, that's not why we're here. We're not here to attack. We are here to love. Now, it's hard to love in the face of an attack. It's hard to love when you have people coming at you and constantly saying, you're wrong, you're this, you're that. But if we look at the great ascended masters, if we look at the great leaders, if we look at Jesus, Buddha, all of these people who have come before us, who have stood up in the face of being treated illy, and they gave them love instead and didn't fall into the trap of the ego and then befell back to them, because that's what feeds it, but said, forgive them for they know not what they do, which is a great quote by Jesus Christ. I love that. It's one of the most powerful things I think we can understand is forgive them for not that they're dumb. That's not what it means. Good morning, Auntie Christine. It's that what they didn't understand, that they were loved and that they are loved and that God loves them. And so they've been living in this fear and their faces turned foul. Why? Because they didn't think that it was for them. They didn't understand they were worthy enough. They didn't understand that they mattered. They just thought that it was for somebody special, and they weren't special. The reality is we are all special. All of us. And there are people who will come from the darkness into the light and be like, oh my God, thank you. And that happened with some of these masters. They met people who were in very dark places, didn't believe. Then a piece of that light was given to them to ignite the flame, and they lit their own flame within, and they recognized, I too am God. But only love can do that. See that? Only love can shift the darkness. Over and over and over and over again, even in the face of those who have done foul things. Now, forgiveness is for everybody, even the ones who have done the most foul things. There were people who murdered and murdered and murdered people, and then they came to God and they changed their life. Now, we want to punish them forever for that. But the reality is that their mindset might have been somewhere else. And then they realized that they were loved, and then they shifted their life. So the darkness deserves love too. So we can't deny that. But we want to. And that's what we've been taught. And by doing that, by merely not liking them, we perpetuate the story of the darkness, and we perpetuate the hatred. People don't realize this. I had people after the trolls showed up and they were saying stuff. I had some of them apologize. I'm sorry, ma'am. Thank you for loving, regardless, because we don't know their story or what they've been through. What put them in the dark space? We don't know that. We don't understand that I don't understand. There's things that I don't understand. And I won't even begin to say that I understand, but I have my own darkness, and maybe my darkness isn't as dark as theirs, but they deserve the light, and the light deserves to touch the darkness. That's why Jesus Christ, that's why Buddha, that's why all of them went to the underworld. Why? Because they wanted to remind them that the light still exists and that they still have the opportunity to come to the light if they choose. It's a choice. So as we continue to judge people over and over again, is it our right? No. But we think it is. And we think we can create the laws and tell people what they can and cannot do. Okay, bye. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Everybody have a blessed day.
Look, see, Mama says bye. Have a blessed day. We're going to have Mama as a special guest. See what she has to say, because sometimes you're like, Natalie, you're off. You're like going this way and you'd be going that way. I'm like, ooh, sorry. But I am human, right? And that's the big key here. So we keep crucifying people over and over again. We keep judging them over and over again. But you got to recognize that there are neutral events and there are stories, and we love the story. We love the drama. We love telling our stories. I love telling my stories. I could talk for days about stories. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just recognizing it, recognizing what is the truth, sift our way through the truth. Now, what does that do when we operate and we recognize what the facts are? We get to change our mindset and our consciousness. So we start to shift the way that we engage life. And we get to change our perspective and not hold people in boxes and be able to communicate our authentic truth. Remember, small t, not the total truth, but your truth. Like this morning, I even had a little bit of a in the face, right? Where someone said something to me and I snapped. And it was total ego, but I recognize it and I laugh about it. Like I can instantaneously take ownership of my ego when it shows up. I'm not going to deny it. And that's what people do. They don't want to admit that they have an ego, and that maybe sometimes we're wrong, right? So I said, my behavior. And then I said, but here's why. Good morning, Carlos. Here is why I snapped back. Here is why. And I was authentic about it, and I was open and vulnerable. And like, yeah, that is my mindset around this thing. And maybe it's not serving me to think that way. Maybe I get to shift the way that I look at this. Maybe it's holding me in a pattern that's not serving me. But it's always looking. And that's why this is the practical use of the esoteric works. Because if we don't understand how to apply it to our life, then who gives a shit? We can talk about how the world is going to hell or how everything is going to go up in flames, but who cares if we don't know what to do with it? Oh, and this is happening in the world. And how is that supporting you in your life? Good morning, Ricky. How is that moving you forward in life? It's not. Oh, so maybe we ought to do things that are going to support us to move us forward in our divine birthright. What does that mean? Practice, you guys. I am good at failing. Get good at failing, because you know what works and doesn't work. And the more that you know what doesn't work, you can know what works. But also remember, your truth is not the capital T. And when we start to live as though we have all the truth and nobody else has it, then what do? We become self-righteous. We close ourselves off from possibilities. We also live in fear, because now we're not engaging in other information to understand it from a holistic perspective, and people will live in fear this way. Buddha was a son of, I want to say a king. I don't know if that's probably not the proper word, but a son of a king. And there was a prophecy that he was going to be a great spiritual teacher, or lead the kingdom. and his dad enclosed Buddha into the space so he couldn't see the outside world. Buddha eventually said, I'm going to go see the outside world. And then he came up with some practices which are beautiful. I highly recommend that people look into Buddhism as a practice for their life. There was just a practice, right? And it said, oh, this is what Buddha said. Oh, yeah, they're suffering. Simple, right? He looked in the world, he saw suffering, and he said, they're suffering. But his whole thing was, how do we come out of suffering? How do we get out of suffering? So he said, well, there is a way out. Let me find the way out. I want to find the way out, and I want to support others in finding the way out of suffering. And so he did a bunch of crazy things that were extreme. And then he understood that balance was the way out of suffering. And he said, find the middle path. And he came up with noble truths. And he wrote in Pali, and there's the Pali texts are actually in the Mahabodhi. They have revitalized it in the Mahabodhi, the Buddhist texts from Pali into these different languages to teach you how to kind of pull yourself out from suffering. And he was a spiritual teacher. And that's it. Very simple. They say he was enlightened. They said that he went past the rainbow bridge and he was illuminated and enlightened being. And that he then supported others into sort of kind of like what Spirit and Coffee is about. It's supporting others into their own journey of how they're going to go ahead and get out of the suffering. How do you transcend suffering? That's really at the end of the story. That's really what Spirit and Coffee is about too. It's like, yeah, we all suffer. Yeah, we have an ego. Yeah, we all go through shit. Now, how do we utilize this information to live our best life, to live into our divine birthright, to our divine purpose? And there was a set of instructions, and it was that simple. Just very simple. Okay. So that's Buddha, kind of in a nutshell. Somebody else might be able to do a better job of talking about Buddha, but I can tell you that Buddhism is it's a practice. It's a way of living. It's a way of being. It's not a religion. People have made it a religion, but it's not meant to be a religion. It's just meant to say, like, here's some instructions and follow them or don't. But I did these instructions and they helped me to illuminate, kind of like that. It's like a manual that teaches you. Same with Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Now, in the story of Jesus Christ, they say he came and was the savior of the world for our sins. So it's a little bit of a different story there. And then we have other spiritual leaders who have come, and that's what Jesus Christ said. There will be many who come before me, and there are many who have come before me, and many who will come after me. And what he meant by that is that there are people who are walking the path of their divine birthright, and there's people who will take that journey, and some who won't. And you have the parable of putting a camel through the head of a needle. More people, it's easier to put a camel through the head of a needle than somebody to walk a spiritual path completely, fully, and dedicate their entire life to it. And I can tell you, I know, because I'm one of those people. And it's not an easy path. It's not easy. But is it worth it? Yes. Would I have it any other way? No. This is the life that I choose. Now, most people may not choose it, and that's okay. There's nothing right, wrong, good, or bad about it. But is there a consequence? Perhaps. Now, there's a consequence for me living my life this way as well. There's sacrifices that are made. There's certain things that show up in my life that are not easy that I have to deal with, right? So walking this path can sometimes feel lonely, and I can feel isolated. But I then go out and I reach out to people and I say, can we participate together? Can we do this together? Can we somehow come together in union and support, right? Good morning, Martinez. All my problems in the hands of God. I know he will guide me. Yes. And that's my belief as well. And there is guidance, but here's the deal, Auntie Christine, is that Buddha was here to support in that guidance, just like I'm here to support in the guidance, just like you're here to support others through that, right? So we have, good morning, Vincent. So we have people, right, that will guide us and support us through life. So God will send messengers. He'll send people to you. It's almost like that other parable that I like, where the guy's like, I am going to be, he says, I was out in the ocean, I was drowning, and I prayed to God, and then God sends a guy with a boat. But the guy doesn't take it. He's like, I'm waiting on God. He's like, and God's saying, well, what are you doing? I sent you a boat, I sent you this, and you didn't take it. So yes, God comes through other people, through other vessels, because we are all God. And so a great example for me was when I really need support. I'm like, God, please, I just need a hug, or I need a connection with somebody. Send me the right person. Send me somebody in your name, right? And God will send me somebody to come and support me. And it's almost instantaneous. Now, here's the deal. We sometimes want to say, oh, I want it to be this person, or we're attached to who shows up. And the reality is, no, be grateful for what shows up. That's the whole point. Be grateful. It may not be your mother who you really want at that time. It may be your sister who you're not really getting along with. But God said, guess what? You get to have this person in your life. This is who I'm sending. But I will have you do this. Why don't you guys do this? And I want you guys to test it for yourself, because again, this is the practical uses of esoteric work. If you're going through something, if there's something going on in your life right now, good, bad, whatever it is, but if it's trying times, right, for you, or something in your life is just not right and you're needing support, call upon God. Say, God, please send me whatever it is that I need to get past this. And help me recognize when it shows up. Now, here's the deal. When it shows up, okay, when it comes and it shows up, stop judging what shows up and just be grateful for what shows up. Because that's the problem with us, is that we go, oh yeah, not that. I didn't want that. Be careful what you wish for is a big thing, right? So, for instance, I like to pray for hugs. I'm like, oh God, I just need a hug. And then someone will show up and hug me. And I'm like, cool. I don't know who it is. Maybe it's someone I don't even know. But I'm going to hug them and I'm going to be like, yes, awesome, thank you. And I say, thank you, God, because I know that God sent somebody to me. And this happens. I want you to witness this for yourself, though. Okay? Because you guys get to engage in that yourself. And I'm sure that there are many of you who have witnessed it for yourself. So, yes. So, God is beautiful. God is amazing. God is everything, right? And God is within us. And we are the extension of God. And God will provide everything we need if we pray. Now, provide what we need, not maybe what we want. Like, I want the Lamborghini. Okay. I'm going to give you a car. It ain't going to be a Lamborghini. Okay, thank you. As long as I have a vehicle to get from point A to point B, I'm good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Amen. It could be a hoopty. I don't know. It could be a car that doesn't work well. But, as long as it gets you where you need to go, right? So it's like, be grateful. That's a big one. Forgiveness, gratitude, love. Okay. And we can go into those all day. So again, the 4 agreements we are on looking at, and I love the 4 agreements, very simplified way of understanding some of the esoteric works, which is, again, we judge ourselves over and over again. We judge others for one thing that they've done over and over again. We live as though it's true. I went through the facts and the stories. Hopefully you guys understand what facts are and stories are. Everything is a story. About 99% of what comes out of our mouth is a story, and about 1% is a fact. But is it right, wrong, good, or bad? No. Life would be very dull if we didn't have all the stories. It would be dull. We would be living in facts. And then we wouldn't have anything to talk about. And we wouldn't have a way to connect. And we would be just robots functioning without emotion, without any interaction. It'd be like socks on the floor. Pick up, put in the hamper. Rather than the story of he leaves the socks on the floor, it frustrates me, and now I have this big drama I could talk about, because life would be boring if we didn't have a drama to talk about, right? But recognize it's a drama and ask yourself, is your personal drama serving you? Is your story serving you? If not, can I shift the story so that it serves me and my higher purpose? What does that look like for me? Those are bigger questions you can ask yourself. Okay. Awesome. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna let you go. I'm super excited. Tomorrow's Friday. Also, just so you know, I'm gonna have a special edition of Spirit and Coffee later in the evening. So I'll be doing my morning show, but also, oh yes, I know you respect everybody's beliefs, Auntie Christine, and I think people know that, and that's what this platform is designed for. It's a respect of everybody's beliefs, yours included, everybody. And everybody has their way of seeing the world, right? Again, we don't have the capital T, but we have our truth, which is what our truth is for us. And as long as that truth is not doing harm, this is an opinion. My opinion, you're on the right track. That's an opinion. Okay, that's not truth. I'm just going to put the disclaimer out there. Okay, so Spirit and Coffee, we're going to have Raven, who is a dear friend of mine, come on. I'm so excited for that. That will happen tomorrow evening. And then I have some great news starting Monday. I will tell everybody the good news because I'm going to enroll some people. Have a blessed day as well. And so tune in tomorrow evening and tomorrow morning. It's good. I'm going to be up early again because I have more work and meetings that I get to go to. Okay. So have a wonderful, fantastical, beautiful day. And I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. For those of you on Podbean, you are more than welcome to follow me on Facebook Live so you can see my face if you choose to. Okay. Love you. Mean it. Have a good day. Bye.